You're raving, you're raving, you're raving with RWR. Fabulous songwriters from Belgium and beyond, the lowlands, the highlands, and far across the pond. On Instagram and Facebook too, you can follow, like, and share. Please hit subscribe and join the tribe from the comfort of your chair. You're raving, you're raving, you're raving with RWR. Hello and good evening. Welcome everybody. How are you doing? Welcome back to Raving with RWR here, my little live stream series on my YouTube channel called Songs from the RWR Room, dedicated to singer-songwriters from Belgium and beyond. Welcome, lovers of song and lovers of songwriters. It is Sunday, the 19th of December in the year of 2021, in case you're watching from the future, as I hope you will be. I hope you're all doing fine. While we're waiting for some lovelies to join us here, I want to welcome you all. If it is your first time to the channel or you haven't already done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me and giving the YouTube video a thumbs up. Helps with the old algorithmic stuff and helps promote what I'm doing here. It helps promote the singer-songwriters also. Should be streaming loud and clear to Facebook and YouTube via the net, and that is all courtesy of G Sharp Guitars. They're the world's finest travel electric guitars out of Kansas, and it's a Norwegian invented machine. Check out the links and the websites to everything and everyone below in the info section of the channel. Great to see you all. Let's see who's in the chat at the moment. We have Germany, we have Chris. Guten Abend again. He's always with us. Thank you so much, Chris. Great to see you. And we have Mr. Stephen, the Good Mojo guitar man from downtown Warscott. And of course, we have our dear Julie with us as well. Julie M. Hi, Julie, from the UK, and who helped to set up this whole stream tonight. Thanks very much, Julie. Appreciate it very much. It's great to see you all. If you do have comments or questions, you want to join us here in the chat, we're hanging out here in the chat section, so feel free to say hi. Mark Dignam is the guest tonight. He's over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All going to plan. Fingers crossed. Ground control to Major Tom. Come in, Major Tom. Mark Dignam. There he is.
Hey, Dahi. How you doing?
How you doing, sir? And thank you for being here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
No problem at all. It's been years and years and years. I saw you but never met you. I think back in Dublin, back in the day, I used to go up and do the Bag It In on a Monday night, and what was the other one? The Dave Murphy songwriter nights in
International
Dublin.
Bar, probably.
That's right. Yeah. God, we're going back 25 years at that stage now. I think it is around that.
Let's not talk of years right now.
We won't. The years are kind of all blended into one anyway, so I don't know what day or year it is, but they were great days. You know, I remember your sets. They were always, as they still are, stunning. You know, powerful. You're a brilliant lyricist and performer, Mark, and that was one of the things that drew me, because you know you were hanging out with Glenn Hansard and all these people were there back in the days. And what do you remember most about that time, sort of before you left for Pittsburgh? What was going on in your life musically?
I remember a lot of Guinness.
Okay.
Good Guinness back then too. God, it was funny. They were heady days in some ways, you know, and there was a feeling of being part of something really great. And I think particularly when I started traveling and I started realizing that there was a lot of other music scenes that didn't quite have what we had. You know, when I started coming back after, you know, doing some stuff in Europe or doing some stuff in the States, and I started realizing that the scene was quite unique.
Yeah. And
to get that like big concentration of so many talented people at the same time, you know what I mean? There was myself and Glenn, there was Nick Christopher, you know, then along came Mundy and Paddy Casey and Damien Dempsey and who else? Gemma Hayes. And all of a sudden, you realize that it's just this huge, big bucket of amazingly talented people all playing the one scene.
Yeah.
So I've come to appreciate it even more as the years go on and I look back on it.
As you said, there were heady days. Fantastic scene it was. There was so many So many greats come out of that time. Did you? So you say we'll go back to the 80s. Then you grew up in Finglas, and what was your musical upbringing like? I mean, was it always guitar? Was it, you were always singing? I suppose the songwriting came a bit later, did it?
Yeah, I was always singing. I think my very first time that I was ever on a stage, I think I was 11.
Yeah.
Some school thing, and I got up and sang a song at Christmas concert or something like that. And so I was always interested in singing, and I started. I think my parents got me a guitar when I was like 16. I didn't do much with it for about a year, and then Glenn showed up in my house one day, and we started talking about guitar. And then the next time he brought his guitar over to the house,
Yeah.
and we start playing. Went busking out on O'Connell Street in Dublin, which is probably the worst place in the world to busk. That was the very first time we went out. We played a couple of Dylan songs and said, this isn't going so great. But, we found our way up to Grafton Street then, a couple of Northside kids rambling across the bridge to see what the rest of the world looked like.
Yeah.
And so it went on from that, from the bedrooms out onto the street into the songwriter gigs with Dave Murphy, particularly. He was for me, he was like the grandfather of the singer-songwriter scene in Dublin at the time, even though he didn't write a whole lot of originals himself, but he was a great curator.
Very much so.
Like the shows, I kind of learned how to run a show through Dave, as well as do my own.
Yes.
Like I'll show up and I'll host some open mics and things like that around here.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I learned how to curate a show through him.
He was brilliant at it.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was so, and even the acoustic vibe that was in, he commanded silence immediately, but also that not only that, but everybody was welcomed, no matter what level of songwriter you were, whether you were a beginner like I was at the time, and then suddenly, Luca Bloom would walk in, or Glenn Hansard, or yourself, you come in and you do something. That was what drew me back, all the way from the bogs of Offaly up to the big smoke.
Right.
In the 90s, this was. I was still living in Ireland as well. You left in 91, did you?
No, it was actually, I mean, I was back and forward through the 90s. I think the first time I was here in the States was probably 95, 96 or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then to live, I came over here about in 2000, spring of 2000.
Oh, you left around the same time as me. Yeah. That must have been a big...
You went east and I went west.
I went east, you went west. Yeah. That's right.
We'll keep going. I'll meet you in the middle again on the other side.
I wanted to say before we continue, I know you have a lovely song coming up here, but I wanted to give you my condolences about the loss of your mum. I know she was, you lost her only a couple of years ago at this stage, was it? It
was back in May of 2020. So, a bit over a year.
I'm sorry to hear that. You were saying she was a singer. Tell us a little bit about her, if you would. I know she's influenced on your music.
She was a country girl herself. She was from Castlepollard in Westmeath.
Yeah.
And she sang around the house a lot, and loved music as well. And it was tough. Like with the pandemic coming in, everything got locked down, and I pretty much had to watch her demise over a screen.
Wow.
And
shocking.
So it was very, very hard. And that's the thing about this. I presume you're playing Angels of Mercy.
I am, yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of the point of the whole song was that during that whole time, I'm watching my mother decline more and more. Eventually, it was very difficult for her to communicate. And at one point, I saw this male nurse, come in and take care of her in the middle of the he just appears in the frame.
Yeah.
And there was just something about the care that he gave her at the time that just, first of all, I was obviously very, very appreciative of it. But there was something about it that hit me. It was like, man, this guy, he's going to work in the middle of all of this.
Yeah.
Essentially risking his life to go to work. And look at the care that he's given to my mother while I can't be there. There was something about that whole thing that really struck me. And I felt like I wanted to in my own way as a songwriter, record that whole thing of all of these people, all of these first responders
Yeah.
going to their jobs in the middle of all of this chaos and having it coming up around their ankles and their knees and getting higher and higher, and the tension of that. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a painting a picture of that whole scene and a thank you at the same time, you know.
Yeah, but it's
And hoping
beautifully.
that they get what they need.
Yeah, they do amazing work. I think the song is definitely a wonderful tribute to all frontline workers, and I know that people can get this song, can't they, on your Bandcamp? I'll put a flash up picture there. Yeah, so that's your digital download there on the Bandcamp. But you're also giving some of the proceeds away. I read.
Yeah. Up until New Year's Eve, we're gonna, whatever we make off it, like 50% of it, I'm gonna write a check to. There's an international nurses organization that we're looking for. So, you know, I didn't necessarily want to give it to like a hospital or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanted it specifically to go to an organization that was going to support the nurses themselves, not just the work that they do in a hospital.
Yes.
So that was important for me. So yeah, up until New Year's Eve, 50% of the proceeds will go to that.
That's amazing. Well done, you, sir. Let's give the song a listen. It's called Angels of Mercy, and relatively new. You wrote it back at the time. You said a couple of years ago now, I suppose, at this stage, but it's beautiful. Gorgeous song. Let's have a listen to it, Mark, and we'll be back for a bit more chat. I'll go into plan after this great song. Angels of Mercy, folks, live. Do you know where this is live? It was another stream you did. You did 2 streams that we have tonight. Do you remember where this was recorded?
This one, I think, this one is done here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
There's a music store called N Stuff, and they have a whole facility. It's literally like a concert venue, a small little concert venue, and they have a whole video audio.
Yeah.
So this is from that.
Some setup. It's gorgeous. Great song. See you in a few minutes, Mark.
Thank you.
Went to work anyway. You had no choice. You're from the neighborhood that's never had a voice. You've always been cannon fodder on the front line. You've seen yourself in history books. Hope for change this time. Tide starts to rise. There's sirens in the streets. They're clapping from the balconies. You're aching on your feet. Joe died on Saturday. Henrietta went last week. The ships are all stuck out at sea, praying for the heat. Schools have all shut down. Kids don't get to meet. You feel like an old backyard shed crumbling to its knees. Sam's in tears at the window. Can't hold Jane in his arms. Body shakes in torment, his heart screams an alarm. Sleep tonight, please sleep tonight. Our angels of mercy, our angels of mercy, our angels of mercy. Our angels of mercy, our angels of mercy. Our angels of mercy. You know they rattle your cage like they've always done. Today the world's upside down. For you it's just another one. Tide starts to rise. There's sirens in the streets. Clapping from the balconies, you're aching on your feet. Joe died on Saturday, Henrietta went last week. Ships are all stuck out at sea, praying for the heat. Schools have all shut down, kids don't get to meet. You feel like an old backyard shed, crumbling to its knees. Sam's in tears at the window, can't hold Jane in his arms. His body shakes in torment, his heart screams in alarm. Sleep tonight. Tonight, our angels of mercy, our angels of mercy, our angels of mercy. angels of mercy, our angels of mercy, our angels. Tide starts to rise, there's sirens in the streets. Tide starts to rise, there's sirens in the streets. Tide starts to rise, there's sirens in the streets. Tide starts to rise. Thank you.
Wow, great song, sir.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I love your tribute, and so nice that you're, donating some of the proceeds of the sales of that to the frontline workers there. Really cool. What a great band you have there, by the way. Are they all of those guys in House of Song? I know the name of your band is House of Song, is it?
They are at the moment. Yeah. The funny thing about the House of Song is it's literally like a big house party. So it's kind of like whoever's around at the time. I have a hand, it's almost like an address book in my back pocket that I can take out and say, okay, I'll call X, Y, and Z and see
That's
who's available.
lovely.
They're some of my favorites now that are along for that particular. Jesse Prentice on bass, who I've known for a long, long time. Eddie Brown on keys. He is a bit more recent. He's only doing a few shows with me. And Pete Freeman on pedal steel guitar is the big pedal steel rock and roll hero around Pittsburgh. He's a big deal. To have him in is a big deal. So I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, amazing musicians, all of them.
Yeah,
and it's great that you have guys that can kind of drop in on a whim when
I love that aspect. I love that idea of just I don't necessarily have a solid, complete band. It's like a bunch of people who come along and say, "Yeah, I know that. I can play that with you." Let's do it.
That's brilliant, isn't that? Yeah, there's great freedom in that as well. And
I tell you something. I'll tell you what's great about that band. A testament to how good they are. One or two of the songs we did on that session, I actually played in the wrong key, and they actually just went with it.
Really?
They just like followed along.
Oh, yeah. There's on the ball.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. How many albums have you out at this stage? I mean, you have quite a handful of them.
I think it's 5.
I think it's 5. Yeah.
Some of them I think are harder to get a hold of than others.
Yeah, because of course they've been in circulation a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your songwriting process like, Mark? Do you take a lot of notes and then kind of sit down with yourself and go off into a dark room, or do you like to sit down and try and create something with a guitar at the moment, or does it vary? How does it work?
Yeah, it kind of sometimes it varies. For me, I think of myself as a lyricist before I think of anything else. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably more of a short story writer in a way. It's very important for me to get the lyrics right. But there are times I'll sit down and I'll just bang away on the guitar for a while and see what pours out. But for me, essentially, like, it's the notebook and pen, and then transferring it into a Word document and messing around. Like at times, like literally, I'll get down to syllables and
will you really
and things like that. So,
wow,
it is more of a literary thing when I write songs.
When you go for it, yeah. Is that a blessing or a curse? I wonder. Does it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes
annoy the head from time to time.
It makes me a little bit more niche than most people. Like, I'm not ever going to be in a big rock band. I'm not going to be, rocking away in the corner at your blues festival kind of thing. It's I probably should tour bookstores or something like that.
Because of
Yeah.
okay, with
I
you.
mean, having said that, I mean, you know, the shows can get pretty big and loud. You know, I do that whole dynamic thing where it's, you know, whisper to a roar kind of thing.
Yes.
So the shows are quite lively, but literally it doesn't do well to have a chatty crowd. It has to be an audience that's there specifically to say, I want to hear what this guy's doing.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
they're the
That's
shows that
suppose.
work best for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same for most of us in the songwriter game.
Yeah.
You want to put a lot of us are sort of very, very much, as you said, lyric based writers, and that's I suppose the essence of it for a lot of us.
Yeah.
We want to put that story and message out there to listening ears, and I think that's that's the only way to do it, really. You know, you have to. There's Tara. Thank you, Tara, for the heart. You have to put yourself out there, of course, and to a listening audience is the best way to do it. I think people will hopefully relate to what you're doing on a bigger level when you do that, right?
Yeah.
When you can sort of grab them by the ears and say, listen, what about that for a line?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you did to me in Dublin, and I think we mentioned in a couple of days ago in the sound check, but there's a big back bastard of a hole in my heart. What's that exact line? It stuck with me all those years.
A big fat bastard of a hole in my soul.
My soul.
It's blasting something like a breeze block. I can't remember the whole thing.
Yeah. One of your very early songs.
Yeah.
And it was in the bag of it was Dave Murphy's gig.
Paint My Love was the name of the song.
Paint My Love. Yeah, amazing. And I mean, because that's you know, I heard of you then. You left my life after that, and me yours, and that was it, you know. And never heard that song again. But if for some reason,
I've had a couple of people ask me about it. I may resurrect it because I always like having an a cappella song that I can throw in at a show.
It was a cappella as well. That's right. Now it's all coming back to me.
I literally wrote the song as a cover for when I break a string on stage. somebody would change my string, and then I would do this long, heartfelt version of this song, and then the guitar would be ready again. But it stuck with me. People
fantastic. It's absolutely. I think it was also the power of it being a cappella as well. Struck a chord, pardon the pun, but I think that's what it was. But one of these moments in a listening room that just kind of blew everybody away, and I happened to be there when it happened, and I remember that so clearly from back in the day. Brilliant stuff. And do you go down the line of co-writing at all, or is that something that appeals to you? Do you love it or hate it? Have you done it?
I haven't really. I don't think I've ever done it. I think really early on, myself and Glenn wrote one song together, and that was it. And I wouldn't even be able to tell you what it was.
Yeah,
at this stage.
But,
no, co-writes are not something I tend to do. Not that I'm against it.
Well, it's not for everybody.
It does tend, like, writing for me is a bit more of a close the door and you know, do it on my own kind of thing.
Very solitary.
You know, I mean, I would write, like, you know, when I'm on trains and planes and things like that. I'd always bring the notebook with me and I'd scribble away. But it's sitting down in a room with somebody else. I haven't really done it. You know, maybe I will.
I know. Because it's not some of the songwriters I speak to about it. It's you have to be writing, I think, with the right person to begin with. You sort of have to be on this wavelength. You know, especially if you're very heavy into lyrics. I think you should sit down with someone who's also very heavy into lyrics, and there can be a little bit of headbutting that goes on, you know, as well within the co-writing vibe.
Yeah. Because if you want to take an idea, if you get really hooked on taking an idea a certain direction,
exactly,
I think it's very hard lyrically to do that with someone else, because we get such, you know, big ideas in our heads about what we want to say.
Yeah, it's true, absolutely. No, I was just curious about that to see if it was something that was part and parcel of your process. But you have you dipped the fingers into any kind of home recording stuff? Do you have a studio in the house? Do you like that aspect of it? Do you do?
I'm kind of building stuff up at the moment. Hopefully in the new year I will have my own setup.
Yeah.
But just to follow on from what you're saying about co-writing, even though I don't necessarily do things in terms of co-writing, I love a very collaborative process in the studio. You know, I'm very much open the doors wide open when it comes to doing stuff in the studio. I'm like, you know, bring what you've got.
Musically, yeah.
Particularly on, I remember when we did Box Heart Man, the album Box Heart Man, and we did it up in Detroit. And it was very funny. I had this producer that I was working with, and I was told to go collect him on the first day. And so I'm sitting outside his house, and he's like texting me saying, "Oh, I'm not ready. Hang on, I'll be there in a few minutes." And I'm sitting outside his house and saying, "The hell, I have to sit around waiting on this guy. What's that all about?" Like,
yeah, I'm paying him for this.
But we got into the studio, and after the first day, I was like, "Man, I will pick you up anytime you want. Bring you donuts, I'll bring you coffee." Eric Hogenmeyer was his name.
Yeah,
and
just brilliant.
You know, I find it. I love having other people bring what they've got to the studio experience, and I'm going to do a lot more of that now in the new year. There's some people on the periphery that I want to, you know, make the House of Song an even bigger, bustling house.
Yeah, indeed. You seem to have a great army around you there. Pittsburgh was a good move for you. You obviously, it opened lots of doors, did it, when you went out there? And
yeah, I mean, I could literally put together 5 or 6 super groups in this town with the musicianship here.
Yeah,
and each one would sound completely different.
Great scene there anyway to begin with, I suppose, is there?
Yeah, but Pittsburgh was actually famous mostly for the jazz scene here. Okay. All the greats of American jazz used to come through Pittsburgh. It was a very big deal. You know, a lot of it is there's a lot of punk and metal stuff here in this town, and so the folk scene isn't as big as maybe it could be, but there's definitely, you know, so many great musicians in this town.
I'm so lucky to have them. Yeah, it sounds like it's a vibrant scene over there, and yeah, you're so lucky to have all those great musicians around you. It comes across as some of them are going to be on this next track as well. I thought that that love would win. It's called. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of this song, please?
I mean, I guess it's from the album Rebuild, which I kind of label as my divorce album. So it's you know, it's a lot of breakup songs, and it's a lot of confusion in that record about that whole time. And this one, you know, it's basically talking about the hopes and dreams that you had for a relationship or a marriage, and how you come to that realization, that moment when you come to that realization of like, it didn't work, you know, and the disappointment of all of those dreams kind of evaporating. I'm not going to get what I wanted out of this or what I hoped for. And, you know, dealing with the heartache of that, you know, it's funny. That was the thing I came to about my divorce later, was that my grief wasn't necessarily all about the person, my ex-wife, but it was about the idea of, I also get to lose this idea of a union.
Yeah.
The idea of, you know, the nuclear family, and that I'm not going to have that again. So that's kind of what this song is talking about.
Well, it's fabulous. A lot of your band are in this. You got a few guest musicians as well. Maybe we'll talk about them when we come back. We'll give it a spin, and I'll see you in a few minutes for some more chat. Mark, thank you.
That love would win. In my heart I sinned, gave all I could and more. Won some battles, lost the war. Memories can be changed. This one I vow to keep. We took the merry-go-round, fell to the floor before the music stopped playing. But in this darkened room, storm will come and go, like the burdened stream does flow. The arrow shall fall, get washed to the ocean. La 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 la. 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 Come on, come on. La 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 la. 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 Of course, I wish you well. Hope your dreams come true. In time you'll find the one. But this song's from the other who thought of what could have been. La 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 la. Come on, come on. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La. Come on, come on. Thought that love would win.
Yeah, awesome. I think you look back and said something like that was awesome picking to the slide player there at that moment. Did you, or something like that? Yeah, what a big band sound, wonderful, and that pedal steel, as you said, just wow. It has something very special about it.
And the guitar player on there doesn't play with me very often, Danny Rechtenwall, but incredible musician. The one promise that I made to myself, and I think it's worked out, is I always wanted to make sure that I had musicians around me who were 10 times better than I am. And I think that that's been the key for me. We actually don't rehearse very much at all.
Really, as you said, they can just kind of jam in and
I
fall in
literally,
behind
I'll
wrong
send,
keys of songs.
yeah, I'll send them a rough recording of the song. Maybe if they're lucky, I'll send a chart, or I'll just call out the chords. And literally, we've been just going and doing shows, and just saying, here it is. So every version of the songs is kind of different each night, which I really, I kind of really enjoy the danger of it.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible, though, as you said, to have musicians of that caliber.
Yeah.
Who can,
and I think it only works. It only works when you've got musicians like that who literally, can transpose the key as you go along. Like that's,
yeah.
I wouldn't get away with that myself, but they can.
They can. I wanted to ask you about for the guitar geeks in the audience. Stephen has his eye on your lovely Taylor guitar with lots of mojo on it. It looks like a well loved instrument.
Yeah.
Is there history in that guitar? It looks like there is.
Yeah, well, it's traveled quite a bit with me. I mean, I've been around. I think that one. Did I get that one in Germany? I think I bought it in Germany. I was very lucky. The record company I was with at the time, we landed into Frankfurt about to start a tour, and my guitar didn't show up.
Oh,
so we were like freaking out, and so the label took me shopping.
Yeah,
and said, "Come on, we got to get you a guitar," because I'm a left-hander, so there's very few people that can loan me a guitar.
It's true.
So I've had that now for quite a number of years, and as you can see, I beat up guitars quite a bit. I'm not that precious about them in terms of.
No, nor me.
Yeah.
Did the original show up eventually?
It actually did. So that was great. I ended up with 2 guitars then. I came home with more guitars than I left with, which is great.
Yeah. Excess baggage.
A rare occurrence.
A rare occurrence. Yeah, normally you come home without a guitar, but you come home with 2 instead of 1. That's nice. But I wanted to also ask you about, obviously, coming out of Ireland in the mid '80s and gigging hard there in the '90s. Where we had these things called record companies. You mentioned in there earlier. Is that a road you went down in the early days of Ireland? Did you go through the whole getting signed part of the business? Did you avoid them? How did that go for you?
Yeah, no, I did. I my first couple of albums I did with a small label out of Dublin, which is how I ended up in the States in the first place. So yeah, I've done the sitting down, signing contracts kind of thing. And I honestly don't know how I feel about it today, about labels and things like that. I keep saying to everybody, there was a time where I felt that I knew how this business worked. And now I'm kind of like, I really don't know if I do anymore. I don't know that anybody does.
No, it has changed a great deal now since then, of course. There was whatever, as bad as some record labels were, at least back then, there was some sort of filtration system, if you know what I mean. Kind of saying, well, yeah, you can do it, you can't, whether that was good or bad, I don't know.
Well, I think what's more important now, like essentially a record company is basically a bank and a marketing company. That's essentially what it is. There's the big mystique about what a record company is, but essentially that's what it is. It's a bank and a PR machine.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you can get the record done, if you can make a good sounding record, you've done your homework in terms of all your writing and arrangements, and it's a reasonably good sounding recording that will get played on the radio. What you need after that then is really people to promote it, and I'm doing well in that category at the moment. Julie is in the UK there pushing things for me, and she's doing a fantastic job.
Sure is.
So that's, to me, is what it's about these days. It's people can get the records done themselves. It used to be that you needed $1 million studio to make a good record. Now I think you need somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000, to make a decent sounding record.
That's right. Steve Earle once said, he says, the good news and bad news is, he said, the good news is that nowadays anybody with a microphone and a laptop can make an album.
Yeah.
He said, that's also the bad news.
It's also the bad news.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, to be honest with you, that is it is definitely part of the issue these days, that everybody can throw a little bit of gear together and think that they deserve then to have a music career.
That's right. And put something out and I think it's going to work for them. Yeah.
And you got to fight against the noise of, like, suddenly there's 200 people putting out records rather than 20 people in your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to. I said at least with the labels there was some sort of filtration.
But I'll tell you, the best piece of advice I ever got, and I keep it in my back pocket all the time. Matt Kelligan from Moving Hearts, drummer, fantastic guy, and he said to me one day, says, it's not even about who's the most talented. That's not actually the key. It's actually who's left standing. Because when the weekend warriors will come out and they'll make their record, and then they'll look at their account slips and they'll go, oh, we spent so much money on this. Excuse me.
Yeah.
We didn't make anything back. We're not doing that again. So goodbye.
Or bye-bye. Yeah. Off you go.
Apparently I'm happy to keep on going, losing money year after year after year. So I'm in it for the long haul.
You're in for the long haul.
Well, that's the thing. Like I tend to outlive musically outlive a lot of the big hot shots that come along. I'm always seemingly left standing.
Well, you're also very dedicated to what you're doing. I'd say there's been no let up at all, really, in what you're doing, has there? You've been like, I'm doing this and I'm going for it. And it's a calling for you. Am I right in saying that?
It is. Yeah. I mean, I tell everybody, basically I quit every January.
Get the January
religiously we get into the middle of January and I'm like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. So basically I've quit religiously for about 25 years.
And then spring happens.
And the spring comes along, the sun starts shining and I'm like, where's that guitar?
Yeah. I've got to book some gigs.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What obviously not now, but say up to 2019, what has your touring schedule been like? Do you get over to Europe and Ireland a lot, or just every couple of years? Or
every couple of years, every 3 or 4 years. I've got a couple of kids here, so it's a lot of looking after them here. They're getting older now. They're like, my son is 16, my daughter is 13. So they're getting a little bit more to the stage of like, Dad, would you not go off on a long tour and just leave us?
Off you go.
Let us sit in the corner with our phones and things like that. So I think maybe there's part of me wants to get back out. I love traveling. I've always loved being in a car, on a train, or on a plane. There's some kind of traveler blood in me. Somewhere along the line. And I love being in different cities, getting to meet different people. We were talking earlier. I was like, Belgium. I've only been in Antwerp years ago, but that was lovely. Yeah. I've been around France and Germany and Scandinavia, and of course up and down the coasts here in the US. And I adore it. I love traveling.
Yeah.
Sometimes the in and outs of having to do shows and having to deal with venues and parking and all that kind of stuff, that drives me bananas.
Yeah, there is a stressful element.
So I'm almost like, if somebody can drop me in with a helicopter into the venue, I play my show, and then they grab me big cable or something that pulls me back out.
You don't have to do all the other stuff.
Puts me to bed at the end of the evening. Then sure, I think we can do it. But I'd like to. I mean, I have a friend in Germany who's talking about trying to get
Gotta
me on
come
the road.
back.
So
Yeah.
I would think, depending on the restrictions, hopefully in the next year, 2022, maybe
I
2023.
hope so.
Because I mean, hopefully now, by spring, maybe summer of this year, I would hope to have the new album out, and I would love to be able to run around and do some shows back in that.
That'd be fantastic to have you back out here. Yeah, absolutely. And where? What? So you said you kind of do coast to coast in stateside, do you? All over the country, or
Well, I have over the
your main?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh is kind of like the gateway to the Midwest, and it's the gateway to the East Coast here.
Beautiful.
So I mean, I wouldn't be too far away from like Cleveland and Detroit and New York, and DC is down the road as well, really.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of at the center of everything. So kind of Northeast, Midwest is a lot of stuff that I do, but I've been up and down, Seattle and all the way down to LA and in San Francisco and everything in between.
I'm
traveled.
You are absolutely are well traveled. And did you mention before to me backstage that you also run venues or run songwriter places out there, or have done?
Well, I've been the guest host at like some of the open mic things around here, and I work for a venue here in Pittsburgh, Mr. Small's Theater and Funhouse, which is probably, I'll be honest, probably one of the best venues in the city. So I'm very lucky. Yeah, I'm very honored to have a spot in that organization. I'm the office manager over there, do a lot of public relations stuff as well.
Very cool.
And so the good thing about that is I get to see the business from many different angles.
Absolutely. And again, thinking about Mr. Murphy and how venues should be run and how these things should be done. He was great at it, and I got a lot from him as well from that point of view. Back in the day. Will you tell us a little bit about Manhattan Skyline? That's the next song I want to play.
Manhattan Skyline, that's probably one of the oldest songs that I have. And it was probably my second or third time in the United States. And it's kind of a funny story where met a girl, and she was from Hungary originally and had been married and divorced in the US, and we were hanging out, and she was just like, just stay.
Just stay. Yeah.
We're having a great time. I like you, you like me, just stay. And I was like, well, I don't know. The US government has all this thing about visas and all that, and they're a little bit uptight about it all. So I don't know. I think,
sure.
It was just all a bit of fun at the time. But I had the idea literally as I was getting on the plane. I said, what would happen if somebody in my situation who has to get back on the plane did fall in love with somebody, and because of a piece of paper would have to go? What would that look like? How would that feel? So that's the idea of watching the Manhattan skyline angle off into the night as your heart is kind of still back there.
The notepad came out and you went, right.
Yeah. Your liver is happy to leave, but your heart is not.
Brilliant. Let's have a listen to the song, folks. Fantastic song. Here we go. Where is it? There it is. And we'll see you, Mark, in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Manhattan skyline angled off into the night. Manhattan skyline angled off into the night. And I remember bridges all covered in mist. And I remember Fingers entwined down a meeting of minds and whispers. Yeah, 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 yeah. Manhattan skyline, angled off into the night. Manhattan skyline, angled off into the night. Can we balance our modern fairy tale with a car crash of circumstances? We're too ethnically disadvantaged, pounding hard, trying not to get ripped apart in the land of the free, in the land of opportunity. Rap on the path to Jersey, and I am trembling, 'cause I know that your pocket and my pocket still add up to minuses. That's what the man wants to see. That's what the man wants to see. That's what the man wants to see. Yeah, 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 yeah. Na 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 Manhattan skyline, angled off into the night. There you go.
Yeah. Lines like angled off into the night, stuff like that. That's typical Dignam right there now. I think that's poetic. Absolutely. Who would have inspired you now growing up, like as a songwriter? I mean, probably a bit of a cliched question, but you must have had, as well, being in Ireland, of course, you would have had plenty to choose from. But maybe it wasn't Irish songwriters at all. Maybe it was American.
It wasn't in the start. It definitely wasn't. In some ways, you know, growing up on the north side of Dublin, it was a very urban Irish upbringing that I had.
Yeah.
So I kind of pushed a lot of the Irish stuff away. I wanted stuff that was more modern, and so in the early days, I was listening to a lot of the some of the ska stuff coming out of Britain, Madness and Bad Manners and the Specials and the Beat and all that kind of stuff. And then I got into a lot of hard rock stuff later. And it was only I started circling back around to Paul Simon. I think one of the very first concerts that I ever saw on TV first, when I was probably a kid, probably 12 or 13, was the concert in Central Park.
Yeah.
And we just, I recorded it. We just got a VCR and I recorded it and I played the thing to death.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think in retrospect, for all the tangents that I went on after that, I still come back to him, and he's probably the most influential in terms of as a writer who does lyrics in such a precise way.
Yes.
And it's something that I've tried to emulate over the years in terms of his lyricism, his rhythm, melodies, and I don't go as far as like some of the crazy chord progressions and things like that or chords that Paul Simon uses. But he's a big influence. A lot of the storyteller, literary type of songwriters I love, like Leonard Cohen and Dylan and Joni Mitchell, Ani DeFranco is another big one. Billy Bragg, some of the more poetic and political ones as well.
Yeah.
Anyone who can string a good couple of sentences together and make it sound awesome.
Absolutely.
They're the ones.
They're the ones. Yeah.
Mike Scott from the Waterboys is also a big influence on me. Some of those late 80s, early 90s Waterboys stuff were very influential for me.
Yeah, it was amazing stuff. You went on to do some big gigs, of course, opening up for all of these great big names. Just reading some off your website here, David Gray and the Swell Season, of course, Glenn Hansard, Joan Armitt Trading, Richard Thompson, Richie Havens, even. Were they all sort of? Any of those gigs kind of stand out in your mind as some of the greats for you? Were they were all American gigs? Were they all over the place?
So some of them, Richie Havens and Richard Thompson, they were over here. I played with David Gray in Ireland and here. What else? Ones that stood out.
Must be some very big venues,
I used to love some of the ones I did with Glenn around, because I got to play some really beautiful big theaters with him. The same with Joan Armitt Trading. I remember doing some wonderful shows with her. We did the Ulster Hall in Belfast, and can't remember a handful. I did about 4 or 5 dates with her.
Awesome.
And it's funny because I'd love to go back and play with some of those people again, because I look back on those performances. I'm like, man, I wasn't ready for that. That wasn't. I probably, if I could go back and redo some of those gigs,
I know the feeling. Yeah. No, sometimes you get these gigs, as you said, when you're just not ready, and you just kind of go, where are they now? Yeah. And I think you were born ready, Mr. Dignam. I don't know. We all progress. What?
Yeah, I got the gig, so obviously I wasn't.
You got the gig, absolutely. You're definitely ready. No, you were not. But of course, I know what you mean. You progress as an artist, and you think.
Yeah, as the songs. Yeah, because I'm in love with all my new songs. I'm in love with the whole new sound. Yeah, and where I'm going. So you're like, oh, I want to do that gig again. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could go back and do it. When the dust settles, then you're writing away all the time, or do you go through phases of it, or do you make big plans like album releases and recordings, or what's next?
Yeah,
on the agenda for you.
Yeah, I do. I write little bits now and then, but then I get focused and I kind of say, right, I'm going to make a record, and I start thinking in terms of what's the general big picture.
Sure.
And for right now, the record that I'm working on is pretty much about being an immigrant far away in 3,500 miles away from your home.
Indeed.
And trying to reflect a little bit of that experience. And I'm over here almost 22 years, so it starts to feel like, who am I? What am I? Am I Irish? Am I American? Am I Irish American? And trying to reflect that, that's the great thing about having the pedal steel and the guitar, or pedal steel guitar in the band at the moment. You get that American sounding twang.
You do. Gorgeous.
But there's going to be a lot of Irish and American sounding songs on this next record.
Yeah, I can imagine so. But there's always been a wonderful crossover anyway between our cultures, musically especially.
Yeah,
as you well know, and it's I heard you doing the Lakes of Pontchartrain there in one of the video clips, or a bit of it, So there's always been that wonderful Irish American connection, you know, through
Yeah.
history, and it suits. I think it suits what you do down to a T. You know, the Irish man living in America, doing that. Yeah, and more power to you. It's absolutely wonderful sound you have. Julie says you're not allowed to quit in January. She says, and I'm with her on that. Julie, yeah, absolutely, Julie.
Find some work for me in January, then I'll be a full timer for the winter.
You might have to let him quit for a couple of weeks in January, Julie, just so he can catch his breath and and get back into it in the spring.
A couple of weeks in the Bahamas, and then I'll be fine.
Yes, exactly. Before I say goodbye to you, will you tell us a little bit about Tallahassee, this wonderful finisher I'm gonna play here? There's a whole host of guests and everything in this venue.
Tallahassee is it was literally a long time ago. We were down on vacation in Florida with the kids. You know, we came through this little souvenir shop or something like that. But it was really interesting because this couple like kind of pushed past in the doorway, like she was bailing out, and it looked like a tense situation.
Yes.
And I just, you know, they went off. I don't know what happened to them, but I just extrapolated on, well, what was that all about? So I had this picture in my head of like she jumps in their car and bails, and he's left standing on the sidewalk going, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do now. I got to catch up and how do I fix this? What's, you know, and at the time, as we were leaving town, there was a hurricane coming up through the Gulf of Mexico. So, you know, people were getting a little anxious about, is it gonna hit us and all this? So there was a whole lot of tension around the getting out of town thing. So I kind of meshed it all together into this big storm of a relationship that this guy is desperately trying to get back onto calm waters. So that's kind of the idea of the song. I hope we got it. I hope they patched it up.
I hope they patched it up. I hope they did, yeah. And where was this particular gig taken from? You have loads of guest artists on it as well, loads of singers.
I'm not sure which one you're going to play, so I don't know.
Let me see if I can.
I can tell you.
Once you see it, you'll know. There's the flash of the.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So we've got Eddie Brown on keys. We got Danny Rechtenwall on guitar, Eric George on drums and percussion.
Looks like a
Jesse
theater.
Prentice on bass and Pete Freeman on pedal steel guitar. This is in the Fun House at Mr. Small. So this is my workplace.
I see the Acoustic Cafe logo on the bottom as well. So thanks to the Acoustic Cafe for.
There's an open mic, a regular open mic thing that they run there on Monday nights. So that's me in my workplace after my work time.
After your work time, doing what you love to do. Brilliant. We're going to play out with that track. I just want to thank you very, very much, Mark, for your time and your talent tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Absolutely no problem. It's always a pleasure talking to fellow Irishman. And you got to come over and see us. And I get you in here for a song into the old RWR room as well.
Cool.
I'll try and kill a few birds with one stone and get you to sing a song for us here in the studio. That'd be fantastic. Icing on the cake. And in the meantime, keep the head down, keep the songs written. Gunairi on Boher and Slán go Fóil. Thank you so much.
Tusa fresh and Guramaga.
Thanks for being here. See you, brother. There you are, folks. Wonderful. And brilliant songwriter Mark Dignam there tonight on Raving with RWR. We've got one more song from Mark to play us out. Thank you all very, very much for being here, for sharing out the videos, for subscribing to the channel, for giving the old videos a thumbs up. That helps a great deal. Please support Mark if you can. His Bandcamp is down there, markdignam at bandcamp.com. Worth, as I always say, you know, one sale of one song from an artist on Bandcamp worth more than any amount of plays you can give them on streaming services. So if you can do that, or buy an album or buy a song, please do that. markdignam.com will take you to everywhere you need to be to find out all about him and to hear his great music. I hope he'll get over to Europe very soon when the dust settles here, and be great to have him out here. Thank you all very, very much for all the lovely comments that are coming in. Thanks to Julie once again for setting up this conversation tonight. Thank you so very, very much to everybody for tuning in, all the nice comments as well. Thank you, Chris, for that as well. Merry Christmas indeed, and a very happy New Year. There might be another stream before Christmas. I'm not sure yet. Keep an eye on the social media at the RWR Room and you'll find out. But I'm going to play out with this great song called Tallahassee from the great Mark Dignam. Enjoy it and see you next time on the next Raving with Rua. Take care of yourselves.
3, 4, and... Listen, Kate, do you want to sing with us? You want to sing? Come on, Jeremy. Amy. It'll only cost you $20. Come on. What's so hard this morning? Thought there was shame. I said was wrong. Realized my mistake. Now I'm screaming down the highway, trying to find where you have gone. Don't think I've made a mess like this in oh so very long. Here we go. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down. Gonna beat a storm to Tallahassee, the clouds coming down. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee, the clouds coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down. I've really done it now. Say you're not coming back. My heart is an origami project that's stamped on flat. Now I'm screaming down the highway, trying to find where you have gone. Don't think I made a mess like this in oh so very long. Here we go. Beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down. Gonna beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down, coming down, coming down. Used to fill your dance card every weekend when we were young. Do you remember how I used to hold you softly? Can we try it one more time? One more time, one more time, one more, come on. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down. Sing, come on, come on. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down. Come on, Americans, come on. Trying to beat a storm to Tallahassee and the clouds coming down, coming down. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you to everybody here.